Thank you for taking the time to serve as a judge for an Enactus competition. Today you will be judging a national challenge. Developed through collaboration with partner companies, national challenges empower Enactus teams to implement viable solutions to economic, social, or environmental needs through a specific type of intervention. During this video, we'll review the presentation structure and what you'll see in your room. We'll talk about the judging criterion and the things to look out for when making your assessments. Finally, we'll provide you with an overview of the judging tools that have been designed to assist you in evaluating the teams, and review the decision-making and scoring process. As a quick note, there will also be additional training that is specific to your challenge provided in your competition room. So let's begin with the structure of the presentations that you'll see today. The competition room you'll be in is called a league. While you'll only be judging the teams in your league, all the teams in every league are subject to the same format and rules. Each team has a maximum presentation time of 11 minutes, including setup and distribution of a challenge report, a live audiovisual presentation, and a question and answer period. Following the team's introduction by the league coordinator, they will have 3 minutes to distribute their challenge report and set up their audiovisual equipment. The team cannot begin their presentation before the 3 minutes has expired, as this time is also provided for you to read the challenge report and familiarize yourself with the project. Following the setup time, the team has up to 5 minutes for their audiovisual presentation. Please note, teams are not required to use the full 5 minutes, and there is no penalty for finishing early. The league coordinator in your room will monitor the time and cut the team off if they exceed the 5 minutes allotted. When the presentation has concluded, there will be a 3-minute question and answer period, where you will have the opportunity to ask questions of the team. During this time, please refrain from making lengthy statements or sharing too many praises of the team. Time is limited, and other judges may have questions, so please focus your remarks on asking concise questions directly related to the team and its activities. A final note regarding the presentation structure. Teams are not allowed to distribute any materials to the judges other than the standardized challenge report. If a team chooses to display materials such as a product or sample during their presentation, the judges are not permitted to touch or keep the displayed materials. If the team displays something you're interested in obtaining a sample of, you can make a request of the team at the end of the day, but only after the results of the competition have been announced. Now please turn to page 5 of your judging handbook. It's a green page. On this page, you will see an individual team evaluation sheet. The judging criterion is written at the top, with each judging element broken down below. For each element, the form provides a scale of excellent to sufficient for you to evaluate the success of the team in that area. As each team presents, we recommend that you use this evaluation form to take notes and mark down your assessments in each area. Let's start with the first section of the criterion, where you will assess the team's effectiveness in conducting a thorough needs assessment with the target audience. For this section of the criterion, you will evaluate how well the team researched the need they were trying to address through both primary and secondary research. It is important prior to any project starting that a team fully understand the issue they are trying to address. Beyond using available data, teams should show that they spoke to and engaged with their target audiences to gain a level of understanding and empathy. A needs assessment requires communication, understanding, and challenging long-standing assumptions about what outcomes people actually need. Teams should communicate to you what they learned from their needs assessment and how they took that information into account when designing the project. Now for the taking action portion of the criterion. While the other 4 components of the criterion are the same for all challenges, the taking action component is different for each challenge, as it speaks to the type of intervention the team took. More training on this portion of the criterion will take place in your judging room. Now let's move to the section titled Enabling Progress. The first element is the team's effectiveness in measuring and reporting direct and indirect outcomes. Outcomes refer to the benefits or changes for individuals during or after participating in program activities. This can relate to behavior, skills, knowledge, attitudes, values, condition, status, or any other attributes. They're what participants know, think, or can do, how they behave, or what their condition is, that is different following the program. There are 2 different types of outcomes, direct and indirect. Direct outcomes refer to those achieved with individuals the team has worked directly with. Indirect outcomes are those achieved with other individuals who may have interacted with the project, but whom the team did not work with directly. For example, say a team works with 2 local coffee shop owners to improve their business model and increase sales, which makes it possible to hire 5 more people. The direct outcomes are the 2 owners the teams work directly with, and the indirect outcomes are those that occurred with the 5 people who were hired. For this section, here are a few tips on what to look for. First, understand the difference between outputs and outcomes. For example, while it may be impressive that a team ran 20 sessions with their target audience of 100 individuals, that in and of itself is merely an output. What Enactus is interested in is core outcomes. So you should be looking for how those workshops impacted the 100 participants. Did they learn a new skill? Are they empowered? Has their situation changed? Another thing to note is if the team is measuring the right outcomes for the needs they identified earlier in the presentation. You should make sure that the team's reported results actually address the issue that was originally outlined and relate to the challenge that you're judging. The lead coordinator for your competition will be providing you with some sample outcomes in your training in your room. Please note that teams are asked to use standardized challenge reports for all national challenges to ensure consistency. Because of this, you may notice metrics listed where the team has no results, so there's a 0. Do not penalize teams for this. We've listed standardized metrics to help ensure teams are reporting on comparable information. Let's move on to the next part of the criterion, focused on the team's effectiveness in empowering people. For this section, you might think of the proverb, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. We encourage teams to use a collaborative approach when working with their target audiences to ensure long-term empowerment. To score well on this element, teams should demonstrate their audience moved from dependency to self-sufficiency, that without further help from the team, the target audience is equipped to use their newfound knowledge and continue to improve their life. To ensure teams are communicating their impact consistently, we've defined 3 different levels of impact. First is empowerment. An individual has been empowered when he or she takes the skills or knowledge they gained and applies them independently with a measurable impact on their livelihood. Next is direct impact, which occurs when individuals gain new skills or knowledge as a result of the project, but have yet to demonstrate self-sufficiency. Finally is lives improved, where individuals benefit from a project without having worked directly with the team. This would fall under indirect outcomes we discussed a few minutes ago. Full definitions and examples can be found on the first page of your Judge Handbook. Ultimately, empowerment is the most meaningful form of impact, and projects should be evaluated accordingly. The final portion of the criterion has you assess the team's effectiveness in improving livelihoods in an economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable way. This is in reference to the triple bottom line, also known as People, Profit, Planet, and is meant to illustrate that for a project or initiative to be truly effective and sustainable, it must make sense economically as well as socially and environmentally. To score well in this final area, teams should show that they considered the 3 factors for each project and that no negative impact occurred in any of these areas. As you can see, the form also provides you space to give the team valuable insights or suggestions related to their projects and activities. There is also an optional section where you can give constructive feedback on the team's ability to communicate results through their written report and live presentation. We strongly encourage you to provide as much feedback as possible through these individual team evaluation forms. A few additional points to keep in mind as you evaluate the teams. Some teams will have projects with multiple phases that might even take place over multiple years. It is important to judge each team based on the results from the current academic year, not just on previous achievements or ideas, plans, and projections. Projects that clearly demonstrate meaningful impact achieved in this year should be evaluated significantly higher than those whose full impact has yet to materialize. It is not uncommon for teams to partner with other organizations on projects. However, it is very important that the team clearly defines the relationship they had with any partner organization and clarifies exactly what their role and contributions were, as well as the degree of impact they can legitimately and fairly take credit for, and should be evaluated accordingly. Teams are not required to conduct international projects. Although it may be impressive to see some teams are able to impact those outside their home country, this mere international activity should not automatically warrant the team additional credit in your evaluation. Your focus should always be on the relevance, depth, and meaningful impact of the project, regardless of it being abroad or here in Canada. We strongly encourage you to seek clarification during the question and answer session if you feel that any aspects of the team's projects, partnerships, or outcomes are not clearly defined in their report or live presentation. Finally, you'll most certainly see some teams today with very sophisticated presentations that use the latest in technology. While presentation excellence and creativity is encouraged, it is your responsibility as a judge to look past it. Your evaluation should be based solely on the criterion provided to you. Now that we've gone through the criterion and individual team evaluation form, let's discuss the scoring process. For this, you will use the cumulative evaluation form, which is the yellow sheet at the back of your handbook. Before the first team presents in your league, please take a few minutes to write down the names of each of the teams at the top of this form in the order in which they'll present. Also at the top of the form is an overall assessment legend, which you will use as a basis for final markings and rankings. After each team presents, you will look at what you recorded on the individual team evaluation form and give the team an appropriate mark on the cumulative evaluation form. For example, for Team ABC, if your assessment of conducting a thorough needs assessment with the target audience was that the team was excellent, then you would enter an E in the relevant box for Team ABC. The cumulative evaluation form we just reviewed will serve as your guide to ranking the teams at the conclusion of the competition day. After the final presentation, you'll finish completing the form and then use this information to give each team a ranking, with 1 being your first choice. The scoring in each individual area should be used as a guide for informing your final rankings. The rankings are what will be used to determine the results of each league. It is essential that each team receive a different ranking and no ties are allowed. Once all judges have completed their cumulative evaluation forms and ranked the teams, your league coordinator or a member of the Enactus staff will guide you through the final stage of the voting process to pick an overall winner from your league. It is very important that judges, league coordinators, and Enactus staff members do not engage in conversation about the results before or during the voting process. The ranking of teams is an individual decision made by each judge. Please note that the results from the league must remain confidential until they are announced at the awards ceremony this afternoon. So now that we've covered everything, we hope you're feeling comfortable in your role as an Enactus judge and are excited to hear the impact our students have had in the lives of others through entrepreneurial action. Thank you again for your attention and for taking time to serve in this role. There are some additional details about the day for us to share with you before you begin the judging process, and for those details, I will turn it back over to the Enactus representative leading the orientation.